This is Greg Pass with the Americans of Wartime Experience. Today's date is March the 5th, 2022, and I am at the Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. I have the pleasure to sit down today and speak with Sergeant Trevor Drahem. Trevor, thanks for joining us today. Can you tell me your full name and where you were born?
My name is Trevor Drahem. I was born in Houston, Texas.
I'm sorry.
What's that?
Any military veterans in your family?
Yes, there's a lot of military veterans in my family. Both my grandfathers were in World War II. My great uncle was as well. One of my uncles served through Vietnam and into a little bit of time in South America after that. But yeah, quite a few people who served in the military in my family.
Was that a part of your motivation to join in the military service yourself?
Yeah, it was somewhat. It was also just kind of what I always wanted to do, I guess, growing up. And, I just one day decided, to look up online what I needed to give to a recruiter to start the process. And I just walked in to a recruiting office, and he basically said, you've got everything you need here. So I took the ASVAB the next day and, left about a month later after that. So
why'd you select the U.S. Army versus the other services?
I felt that the Army had probably one of the widest varieties of jobs, and pretty much everyone in my family has always been in the Army. So it's pretty. So it was kind of just what I wanted to do.
MOS, what specialty did you pick?
I picked 11 Bravo Infantry.
So would that be Benning then?
Yes, did one station unit training at Fort Benning in the latter part of 2017. So
is Fort Myer your first active station then? Is this your first?
It is. Yeah, I've been here since January of 2018.
Let's back up a little bit. Have you ever been to Arlington National Cemetery before your enlistment?
I had when I was real little. I think I was about 10 years old. My cousin worked up here for a while in a government agency, and she kind of brought us all up here one day, me and a couple of my aunts and another one of my cousins, and we just kind of took a trip up here and kind of had a little road trip back to Houston. And we did see the guard change while we were here and saw the cemetery. I honestly don't remember a whole lot of it because I was so young, but I remember, it was in the fall and it was pretty cold, and all the leaves were brown and orange, and it was really pretty. So,
in your adult life, do you remember the first time you were able to see the guards and the ceremonies?
Yeah. So, in basic training, they came to us. And they basically had some, I guess, old guard recruiters kind of give us some information on the unit. And they, I ended up putting my name down just to get more information. And I, ended up getting a lot more information when my orders got changed to here. And so we got our phones, everyone in basic training, when they found out that, everyone finds out what unit they're going to part of the ways through, and everyone kind of jokes about it, and everyone would joke to me about, oh, you're going to be one of those tomb guards over there. And we got our phones at one part for about 10-15 minutes to call home. And I looked up like one YouTube video of the training down here and like the guard change and stuff. And I was like, oh, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do that. It looks way too hard. And then as soon as I got down here to the unit, they had a training cycle. And I just, kind of said, whatever, and raised my hand to volunteer. And just one thing led to another, and just ended up staying down here. So,
what is that training and selection cycle like?
So we pull from the old guard, which is the regiment that we're attached to, and once soldiers volunteer, they're put into kind of like a selection process. It's kind of like 30 days where they come in at night and they're kind of shown the basics of how we do the guard change, how we do the rifle manual, a little bit of the knowledge that we have to memorize, and if we think that they're a good fit, skill-wise and personality-wise, because it does take a certain kind of person to be down here, then we assign them to one of the 3 reliefs that we have. And then from there, they progress farther and farther along through training until they hopefully eventually earn their Tomb Guard identification badge and hopefully become trainers themselves to continue on the job that we do here.
Have you earned that badge yet?
I have, yep.
What did that feel like?
It was a pretty big moment for me, I guess. It was one of the biggest, probably the biggest thing in my life that I had ever personally accomplished. It was kind of, for me too, kind of one of those like growing up moments. It was kind of the first thing in my adult life away from home and stuff that I had done myself and accomplished. And you know, my dad was able to come down and pin me and everything, and it was just really cool. So
you get your name up on the wall there, correct? Tell us, for people who haven't been there, tell us about how relatively few people have earned that badge and what it feels like to be up on the wall.
Yeah, so since 1957, there's been 692, I think, is the number that we're on right now. We've just had a couple more awarded. But yeah, there's very few names up there, and even before the badge was a thing, there are other individuals who guarded the tomb that can have their families provide documentation and get them retroactively awarded the badge. And you know, it's definitely kind of a cool feeling, I guess, but we also kind of have a thing down here where we don't really like to talk about the badge, I guess, because it's not really supposed to be about us. You know, we always like to say that they could, you know, take that badge board down and it could not be a thing, and you know, we'd still be down here. To me, the badge is just to kind of show individuals that are qualified to train and to tell the history and the story of the unknowns, because when I leave here, I want to make sure that there are badge holders after me that can do what I've done for soldiers in training and continue on where I leave off, and then so on and so forth.
So Arlington National Cemetery is a special place. What are your personal thoughts about why this place is so special and so important in the American landscape?
I think the history of the cemetery and the fact that they still, to this day, do roughly 15 to 20 funerals, I'd say, a day, is a very emotional place, especially, you see it especially during Memorial Day. If you go down to Section 60, seeing all the families down there of because Section 60 is where a lot of the War on Terror veterans, KIAs, are buried. And you know, it also not just Section 60, but seeing all the families that come here to visit the graves of their loved ones. You know, sometimes you find stuff like cans or bottles of, you know, beer at headstones. You see like coins and like hand-drawn pictures from maybe their kids that you know they were left behind. So you know, it's pretty emotional, and then being right over DC as well. So.
You play a role in the ceremonies last year. Tell us a little bit about the significance of the anniversary ceremony in November and your role in that.
So I thought it went really, really awesome. Just the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier it's America's monument. You know, it's America's unknown soldiers. So, and usually being closed off, there's only so close the public can get to it. If people want to lay wreaths, there's like a year-long wait list. So for people to be able to just come and lay flowers at the tomb and just be there up close to it and pay their respects was really awesome to see. And I think it couldn't have gone any better. I was walking the mat that day, so I was doing my walk back and forth and got to see all kinds of different people, you know, family members, old war veterans, you know, guys that would just kind of come up to the tomb in their wheelchair and get up and, you know, make the effort to walk across and salute. And then, you know, afterwards arranging all the flowers around the tomb at night to be the way that, you know, it was broadcasted on TV in the next morning. You know, throughout the day, you really didn't get a sense of how many flowers there were until we were moving them all around at night. And just thinking that every one of those flowers was an individual who came through to pay their respects. So.
Humbling?
Yeah, very humbling.
I understand the Crow Nation participated. Can you tell us the significance of
that? So I unfortunately was not on duty to see that. I did hear about it though, and it sounded very, I guess, cool, for lack of better words. But I honestly forgot what I was going to say about it.
Well, I was going to parlay that into ones that you did observe, veterans organizations. You mentioned seeing a guy stand up. whether it was during the ceremony or your overall experiences here, what do you think is one of the more touching moments or finest memories you have at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier?
So probably like the biggest thing emotionally for me, moments-wise, are the honor flights that we get down here, which are old World War II, Korean, Vietnam veterans that these organizations from different areas of the country gathered together to bring on trips here to DC. And especially the World War II veterans, which we've seen less and less of them every year. Just being thanked by those guys and just seeing the level of respect and I guess admiration, appreciation of this place that those guys have. I've had World War II veterans ask me to fold flags that they've carried with them for the past 70, 80 years now. Having World War II veterans, give you coins and give you handshakes and stuff, even Medal of Honor recipients as well, just come down and tell you how grateful they are, not just because of what the tomb is, but because of what it represents, especially because a lot of those guys could very well have had a friend or family member who could be interred out there, and even if not, the tomb represents those individuals. So
you have opportunities to interact with the public when you're not actually guarding the tomb itself. If you were to meet a young man or a young woman on a trip and they're in awe of what you guys are doing, what recommendation and advice would you give them on how to succeed to get to a point where you're at, where you're a badge holder?
I guess find something that you're really passionate about, because at the end of the day, when you're, I guess, to look back on my time in training, or I guess in any of the tough training that you do in the military, when you're tired or you're cold or hungry or something, what's really going to push you through anything that you do, whether it be college work or trying to get a certain job or something. If it's something that you're passionate about, you're going to find genuine motivation to do it, and that genuine motivation is going to be better than any kind of fake motivation you can tell yourself. So.
One final question. You're going to be given a copy of this video and instructions on how to send it to the Library of Congress for the Veterans History Project, where they retain videos from soldiers from World War I forward, and that video will be there for a couple hundred years at least. One of these days, when your great-great-grandkids might stumble upon it, what would you want them to know about your service to your country? I don't know, I guess I honestly haven't really thought of that. You go through, it just becomes I don't want to say it just becomes a thing you wake up and come do early in the morning, and it's definitely not something that you just clock in and out at. You might come here in the morning and it's real early and you're real tired, and you might think like, I'm at work again, I'm real tired, and super early in the morning, but then you start seeing some of the people come up and interacting with people and talking to people, and you get the idea of like what it means to people. And I never really like to talk about myself very much when I'm giving briefs or anything like that. I really like to tell the history of the tomb and of the unknowns, and like not just like who the tomb guards are. I like to more explain like why we guard. Why we're here and like what we represent. But I guess I don't really know how to talk about my service very well. I would definitely have to think on that question a little bit more. Fair enough. Any other observations or anything else you wanted to say before we stop the tape?
I don't really think so.
Okay. All right. Well, on behalf of the Americans in Wartime Experience, I thank you for spending the time with us, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you.